Hi, I'm Mike Micalizzi, Director of Technical Services at Custom Building Products. We want to welcome you to the Custom Technical University and our top 5 tips for a successful adhered masonry thin veneer installation. Today we're seeing more and more thin stone or thin brick installations being used to accentuate the outside of commercial or residential homes. Traditionally, when these installations took place, Type S or Type N mortars were used to install these products. And although there are many successful installations throughout the land, we do note that in today's construction design, these mortars may not be flexible or may not be strong enough to hold up in the long run. Tip number 1, surface preparation is the key. As in any adhered installation, you're only as good as what you bond to. So, assure that whatever surface you're going to install your materials over is sound, stable, and free from contaminants. When you inspect the framing or inspect that surface, assure there's no movement, nothing that could cause any deflection at any future point in time. The next thing is, after you install your wire and your paper, assure that whatever materials you've applied, there are no cracks and there are no weak surfaces. Right before you install your waterproofing, assure that there's no dust on the surface that could cause a bond break. Tip number 2, make your installation waterproof. As most of these thin veneer assemblies are exterior applications, you want to protect them against water damage. Now, there are many methods of protecting with waterproofing, but the most successful and the most effective means of waterproofing is a continuous liquid applied membrane. Why? Well, these liquid applied membranes, they form a barrier with no seams around that entire installation. They also move the dew point away from the building, as it's not behind the scratch and brown coat, now it's in front of it, and it moves it further away, again to protect against moisture and water damage. If these membranes meet ASTM E1677, they can also double as an air barrier, and because they're so elastic, they're going to help prevent against cracking in your grout, in your mortar, and all of the other things that hold your assembly together. Use a liquid applied waterproofing membrane in the same manner that you would for a traditional tile or stone application. Simply open up the masonry waterproofing membrane, which is an elastomeric membrane that bonds directly to scratch and brown coats, backer board, and other concrete substrates. You can use a trowel, roller, or an airless sprayer to apply. If using a roller as shown here, apply your first coat with a continuous up and down motion with an even film and overlap your strokes. Allow the first coat to dry sufficiently. This will be evident when the color darkens. Once the first coat's dried, apply the second coat in a side-to-side direction in order to make sure that you get the correct coverage. Tip number 3, use a pre-blended polymer modified mortar. Traditional Type S and Type N mortars were not used as adhesives, but in fact they were used in order to bed full bricks. And you can see the difference between these two formats. So this one here, you would use the mortar to bed the underside and above side and bond it to the other side of the brick. But whereas in this format, you're directly adhering it to your veneer. The other issue with Type S and Type N mortars is that because they're mixed on site with different materials, they can be very inconsistent. A lot of it depends on the cement, the sand, and the lime that you purchase. And now, as the job site chemist, who's responsible for the performance of this mortar? You are. Using a polymer modified mortar, an ANSI 118.4 mortar, will give you the bonding performance that you need, not just strength, but also it'll give you deformability. Another issue that we see is many of these site mixes are created without the addition of a latex polymer additive. These additives give you resistance to water and the effects of freeze-thaw damage, and they're essential for success in your system. Your solution to all of these issues is to use an ANSI 118.4 polymer modified mortar. These mortars were specifically designed as adhesives and used for tile and stone, which is basically the same format as these thin bricks or the thin stone formats. And now they've been recently recommended by the MVMA for use in these applications. Tip number 4, use a prepackaged pointing mortar. When you use a factory blended pointing mortar, you get a hard and dense joint that consistently will resist shrinkage, cracking, and will give you excessive wear resistance. These materials are blended with the correct amount of sand and cement, as well as various types of sand that make it very easy for you to tool and bag in order to place into these joints. The result is that you get a very, very good, consistent grout joint. They're also color matched to a very stringent color range and designed to resist shrinkage for joint widths from 1/4 inch to 1 1/4 inch. Tip number 5, provide proper movement joint placement. Remember, give your brick or stone a break or it'll break on its own. One of the most common oversights we see in thin veneer systems is running long lengths of brick or stone without the proper movement joint. Either the joints are not placed properly or they're not wide enough to accommodate the expansion or contraction that normally occurs in building materials. We all know that thermal changes, moisture changes are going to cause buildings to expand and contract. All of these systems need to move accordingly. Now, if this doesn't occur, we'll see that cracks or actual delamination of your entire system can occur without proper movement joints. So in order to treat these joints, you want to use something like 100% silicone. And you'll place those in the joints, and also you want to use a sealant around all penetrations and changes of plane. So in closing, thin veneer installations are growing in popularity, and they'll last for decades if they're installed correctly and with the right materials. And when it comes to materials, make sure to use a full system of manufactured products, because not only will they help you save time and labor, but they'll give you the best results that you possibly can get, as well as provide you with a system warranty. This system warranty even covers replacement costs. So thank you again for joining us for Custom's Top 5 Tips.